Hello everybody, Toastbomb here with my first ever weapons guide video. Now surprisingly enough, I haven't made one of these. I don't know why it took someone in the comments to suggest a video like this for me to think of doing a video like this, because I've done videos in the past somewhat similar where I talk about positioning and I talk about how you should engage enemies and how to aim, but I've never done a video specifically on a weapon. So here we go with the first of the series, and we're starting out with the trusty, the classic, the AR. Now the AR being an automatic rifle, the number one thing you have to be thinking about when you're fighting somebody is how far away you are from your target and what weapon the enemy has, because that optimal distance from the target varies depending upon what weapon that enemy has. So when you're engaging an enemy with a precision rifle with an AR, what you want to try to do is cut off as many lines of sight as possible, or at least long lines of sight as possible. So that means don't run straight down the hallway, the curvy hallway in Haven. Don't run straight down that. Bob and weave in between the pillars, and then on the sections where there aren't pillars and cover that you can use, stay on the inside of the ring. That way you cut off those very, very long lines of sight that potentially a precision rifle user could take advantage of. And then also remember to use your grenades not necessarily to hurt the person, but to zone the person around and to get them into a spot that you want them to be in. For instance, again, on Haven, if you were to, say, throw a grenade at them and force them to hide behind the pillar until the grenade explosion is gone. Well, that just bought you about a second and a half to get closer to that target. And every foot you get closer, the faster it's going to be to kill that person. Now, if the person has an automatic rifle, excluding the AR, we'll get to the AR later, if they have a suppressor or if they have a storm rifle, this is totally different. What you want to do is actually stay pretty far away from them, because as you get closer, as you get into the effective range of the suppressor or the storm rifle, the kill times actually get faster than the AR. But the difference with those two rifles is that their range of effectiveness is actually much shorter than the AR. So the optimal way to engage an enemy with one of those two rifles when you are using an AR is to stay close enough to the enemy that you can hit a good number of shots, but stay far away enough from the enemy that they'll have a hard time hitting shots because of the random spread from their rifles. Now, if the enemy has an AR, it doesn't really matter because you are completely equal. No matter what range you're at, he's also at that range and he has the same weapon, so it's not going to make a difference. So instead, your goal during an AR battle, because you guys have equal kill times no matter what range you guys are at, is to get first shot. And if you're behind shots, what you want to do is try and get behind some cover and pop back out and hopefully catch that guy off guard enough that you suddenly get up in the battle in shots. And then throughout that battle, maintain a distance where you don't get into melee range. If you get into melee range, there's a massive window where if you guys melee, you guys will tie. And another way to actually get an advantage in those AR versus AR battle fights is using grenades. And you don't even have to nail the guy with grenades. Obviously, it's great if he's a one-shot with that grenade and you can land it perfectly under his feet. But even if you get a hit marker, even if you get, just a few percentage of that guy's shields off from that grenade, that's extremely helpful. Because unlike a BR where you kind of need to get like a fourth of their shields down to make it worth it, otherwise it's still going to be a 4-shot. With the AR, and those individual bullets don't do a ton of damage. So even if you get a small chunk of those shields off of him, that means that's 1, 2, maybe even 3 bullets that you no longer have to shoot. And that's 3 bullets that you are ahead in the fight. Now, in terms of other equipment that you should have on your loadout, starting off with the secondary weapon, I would definitely say the Magnum is the best. Not only because it has the most amount of skins, so you can be rocking your awesome other skins that you have and make it look really cool, but also it's really handy for those longer range engagements or long range situations where the enemy's running away. Like, say you get the guy one shot and he hides behind a piece of cover and then starts sprinting away. Normally with the AR, if it's too far away, you're not really going to have a chance. Even if you sprint after him, by the time you catch up, he's probably going to have his shields back. But with the Magnum, you can quickly flick it out. In many situations, you can actually pop that guy in the head before he can get away. And then for grenades, I would definitely recommend frag grenades, because frag grenades are very easy to zone with, and that is a very important thing to be able to space yourself properly, is zoning those enemies well. And the reason they're so good at zoning is because they bounce a lot. So they're very flexible in how you can use them and how you can position them. Plasma grenades take a little bit extra time to explode, and they don't have the flexibility like frag grenades do because they don't bounce. And pulse grenades can be very effective somewhat in a zoning type way, more blocking an enemy's path, but you only get one of them, so it's not really worth it. Then for armor abilities, the first one I would recommend is Jetpack, especially if you can claw with the Jetpack. If you can claw with Jetpacks, it's ridiculous because, hey, man, your jump that I'm not supposed to be able to get up, your wall that I can't normally jump over, none of that, any barrier, anything is no longer a factor. Almost any gap in any map is no longer a thing you have to worry about because you can fly through it. So that makes your mobility ridiculous, and getting to other parts of the map is so easy. It maybe doesn't give you a massive advantage when you're in battles, but you can get around the map so fast that I think it makes up for it, especially if you can claw. The next one I would say is Thruster Pack, because the Thruster Pack, while it's also not a very offensive weapon to use, it's definitely great for getting you out of sticky situations, and if you are in those AR versus AR battles, it can definitely give you the upper hand by dodging some of those shots, getting behind some cover, popping back out, and hopefully getting up in those fights. And then lastly, I would recommend Hardlight Shield, because Hardlight Shield can actually be a really great way also not only to get behind cover, but close the gap on some enemies. If there's a spot where you get caught off guard from a long line of sight and you just need to get a few more feet to get behind that piece of cover, you can get behind that piece of cover with the Hardlight Shield. And not only that, but you can also save some shields getting to that piece of cover as well. Then for the tactical package, the number one thing I would recommend is resupply, because resupply is so helpful. Now, it might not be as helpful for people who don't have a playstyle that tends to use a lot of grenades, but for me, who does have a playstyle that uses lots of grenades and relies on them fairly heavily to zone out people a lot, this is something that I almost can't go without. The next one I would recommend is Resistor, and Resistor is actually a newer item in the tactical package, and if you don't know what it does, Resistor allows players to keep their full speed while they're taking fire. So remember, normally if you're sprinting and you're getting shot, you slow down, and you slow down to basically walking speed. Now with this, you can continue sprinting and close the gap on players extremely fast. Or also in, like that situation that we were looking at earlier, get behind cover extremely fast as well. And then lastly, I would recommend AA Efficiency, because that can save your butt quite a few times when you have the Thruster Pack, but also if you have the Hardlight Shield, you can redeploy that Hardlight Shield earlier than enemies expect, and you can really throw them off in some fights. And then for the support upgrades, I would totally recommend Dexterity, man. Dexterity 24/7, Dexterity for life. I almost cannot play without this support upgrade because it is just so damn useful. reloading is so much quicker, so you can quickly pop behind cover, reload, and pop back out and continue laying down fire on people like a madman. Or even if you're caught out in the open and you need to reload, you can very quickly reload and you're basically not even that far down in the fight. But also, one of the extreme advantages you have is the faster weapon swapping. So if that player is a one-shot and he's running away and you need to pop him in the head with the Magnum and that's your only chance of being able to kill him, this support upgrade is definitely going to give you a better chance of doing that. Then my next recommendation would be explosives. And explosives is actually really helpful and makes your grenades much more powerful. So when you are zoning with your grenades or just trying to hit a guy with a grenade to get him down to one shot, this is really helpful and can easily, on those AR versus AR fights or any fight, get you ahead by a lot. And then lastly, I'm going to recommend again something that is new and has been added in recent updates, and that is recharge. Recharge lowers the time it takes for a person's shields to begin recharging. So remember all those times where you're hiding behind a wall or a piece of cover and you're freaking out because you need just one more second to stay alive so your shields will start recharging? Well, that is the problem this solves for you, because it shaves off that time, and before you know it, your shields will be recharged and you can pop back out and you can start killing that guy. So there you guys have it. There's the loadout. There's some tips on how to use the AR effectively. Anyways, that'll be it for this one. If you like the video, you can leave a like or a comment, or you can subscribe because I post new Halo videos every day. Anyways, thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.